Retirement planning should be more than just talking about investments. You want the confidence to enjoy this special time of your life. If you want more from retirement, you've come to the right place. This is the Mark Osler Retirement Experience, the financial pathway to more.
A guy named William Bengen. He is the guy who came up with a thing called the 4% rule. You may have heard of it. If you look up how much should I take out in retirement, the 4% rule is going to come up probably on Google for you. This was developed in the 90s, and they say basically it's this. Market usually goes up 8 to 9% per year. That's what it is, historically. So if you were to take 4% of your money, you would not run out of money. You'd be probably fine for the rest of your retirement. Unless the market goes down for a period of time, there's that. But he has a new book out called A Richer Retirement, and he says something rather interesting that I wanted to get your comment on. And we always hear that you should decrease your risk toward retirement. Bengen says you should increase your risk in retirement.
Yeah, there are three choices: reduce stocks, maintain them, or increase them. And of the three, the worst is to decrease your stocks. It's the one thing you do not want to do. Fortunately, there's a plateau between about 47% stocks, about 75% stocks. If you stay in that range and the rest in bonds and cash, you'll end up with about the same withdrawal rate, about 4.7% or whatever, you choose.
All right. So that's really kind of against conventional wisdom. Decrease your risk as you get toward retirement. He says increase it. So why is he saying this? Do you agree with this? What's the deal here?
I understand completely why he's saying this. He's coming solely from a money management standpoint. And, when we work with folks from a money management standpoint, we're working with them from a fiduciary capacity, which is it's just a standard of care. Mm-hmm. But it just means we're going to put your needs above ours, and we're going to work with you in that capacity. But we work in other and several capacities, and I do not agree with him whatsoever.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if we've had historic returns, and we're talking about from 2009 till now, and we had that 2023 and 2024 year where the S&P 500 was up to over 20% consecutive years for the first time since 1955. We're talking 70 years. Mm-hmm. Randy, I think it would be highly irresponsible for me to tell somebody to increase their stocks in retirement, especially if they're pulling from it. All you have to do is come in my office, and I'll show you what a sequence of returns looks like when you're taking withdrawals versus not taking withdrawals and the difference involved.
So the numbers that he threw out there, if you stay between 47 and 75% risk, as I do this and I talk to people like you, more so, they find that the happy place is for somebody to have maybe 35% of their money at risk and 65% in that preservation bucket that we talk about. Is there a happy place that you find that your clients are going for, that they feel comfortable with risk in the market, or is he on with this 47 to 75% thing?
It varies a lot, but I'll say this. No, I mean, what I do is I like to take the rule of 100 minus the person's age.
Okay.
Tells me how much money they should have at risk, and then the remainder is their age, which is what they should have in a safe place. And when I say a safe place, it doesn't mean bonds. What happened to Lehman Brothers back in the day? We believe in operating from a lot of places of full-on planning, just making sure that we're doing good planning by you. So we like security, we like preservation tools, and we talk about things like annuities because Randy, if you came to me and you said you need a certain amount of income, I don't want to rely on the market for that. That gives me a lot of worry. If I put my head on the pillow at night, I would probably lose even more hair than I've already lost. I don't want that to happen, Randy. Yeah, well, when you come in and you sit down at my conference table, one of the things I have here is I have this golden nest egg with a bunch of golden eggs in it. And the question is this. Is this money you just want to play around with, have fun with, pass it on because you just think the law of large numbers in 20 or 30 years you're going to leave on some more money? Or is this money you need in retirement? Because if it's money you need in retirement, we need to get down to planning, and it's not just about money management. That is a part of it.
If we use what you talk about as that rule of 100 and take your age from 100, so if you're 60 years old, 60 plus 40 equals 100. So 40% of your money could be at risk. Now, when you talk about using preservation kind of tools like an annuity or maybe bonds or cash or whatever, some of those areas that are not susceptible to the up and the down of the market. So that 40%, that's not saying we're going to take 40% and put it in an annuity. That's saying that 40% will be chopped up in different places that are in that preservation bucket.
That's right, Randy, because let's use the example of, let's say, 2000 to 2002, because that was the first recession period. We have 2007 to 2009 as well.
Yeah.
But just to give you an example, 2000 to 2002, that high to low in the S&P 500 was a 49% drop. Let's say 2007 to 2009, it was 56.5%. Let's just say that in those particular two scenarios, we take 2000 to 2002, but you're correlated to the S&P 500 maybe 80% of the way. So let's just say you're only getting 40% losses overall over that 2-year period of time. If you're taking out, $40,000 a year off $1 million, okay, that's 4%. If your money drops 40%, you're now at $600,000.
Yeah.
So tell me something, Randy. Would that make a big difference in your portfolio, in your situation?
Absolutely. Taking money out of a bucket that's got a leak in it is what you're doing here.
Huge leak. Now you're taking out 6.7% of your money, and you had the huge losses. And guess what? It's probably not $600,000 because you keep taking $40,000 a year out of it over those 2 years as well. And that sequence of returns has dropped it even more. Now that's where people have concern and worry. Why don't we just build in some preservation tools? They have those things called guaranteed lifetime income riders. They have withdrawal rates. We can build anything you want into your portfolio. There's a lot of stuff that we can do, and we're different. We don't mind those preservation tools. We believe they're a very important part. But we also can work with your market money. I happen to be one of only 300 advisors that uses a group called Market Guard. I think that's a very nice little ticket for folks if they want to talk to me about actively managed portfolios. But in addition to that, we believe in full-on planning. I've got attorneys right down the road where we involve them with estate planning. If clients need high-level planning, like real estate, they're selling off some properties and they need to do some fancy things tax-wise. We have a CPA in that attorney's office who's also an attorney as well. So we get involved into some stuff to really help clients out and build some really good planning for them and some tools and preservation tools. So for us, it's about, safety, preservation, income, taxes, all of these things we go over. And we want to make sure we consult with professionals and work through all of this types of levels of planning to help folks on all these in all these areas, Randy, all of them.
It's interesting how the retirement conversation is kind of like dominoes. Is you walk in a door and you want to talk about your investments, and then your investments ticks another domino. Now we're talking about risk. How much do you want in that market? And then we're talking about income, and another domino ticks, and then one goes down to, well, where do I take my money from? And then it becomes a tax question. So one after another, as you see the conversation continue to go, and Mark talks about all these different partners that he has that have helped him over the years and the relationships that he's built, that we can do that complete umbrella for you when it comes to your retirement planning. Give us a call. Let's talk through it and at least get started on your retirement conversation. Here's our number and our website, which is 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. Give Mark a call. Let's talk about his steps to more, his 5 steps to more in retirement planning. You can also find us online at more2retire.com. One of the advantages I feel of coming in early is not only can you work on your investments, you can work on your income, but you can also work on your debt and getting ready for retirement. We've already talked a little bit about this, Mark, that Social Security may cut back by 25% in about 7 or 8 years. And that leaves a little bit of income gap there. Well, if you were to pay off your debts during that period of time, maybe you don't have to come up with any more income. You can just get rid of the debt and the money is there for you to spend. So talk to me a little bit about things that you do with folks if they're 3 years out, 5 years out, and how you get them ready for retirement.
I'll just use an example, Randy. What I talk about at my presentation, I give an example of a couple that I knew very well. And when they retired, they moved to North Carolina in 2008. I met them. And the wife really was concerned about the fact that she wasn't going to get her husband's pension. And she was worried about income provisions and things like that, and also assets, and whether she could stay in this house or whether she can move if she wants to move, or any of those things if he passes away first. Well, guess what? We addressed this stuff in 2008. 2019, he got sick. 2021, he passed away. 2025, here we are. And she's just fine.
I got to believe, Mark, that in the first meeting and you go through your 5 steps to more and you get things on track and people feel good about their retirement, but things change. Things in your life change. People get sick. People pass away. A kid gets married. All of a sudden, you're on the hook for a wedding, and all of that stuff is happening. And you need that person in your life that can say, Mark, where did this money come from? I need $30,000 to do this. What can we do? And I think that's an invaluable thing for people to have in their lives.
It is. And that's why we tell you, go to my website. Like, I need more to retire on, moretoretire.com. And it's with a T-O, not the number 2, okay? I'm not corny like that. So no, truly, moretoretire.com. We have a process guide. Click that tab that says process. If you want more information from us, like Randy said, scroll to the bottom. Go over it, all the way down there, and you can fill out a form. It goes straight to my email, and a lot of times I'll forward that over to my administrative staff. So one of the things I always like to discuss, Randy, is if they want to set an appointment with me, one thing I like to have in advance is financial information. Mm-hmm. So whether it's your positions, people say, what do you mean positions? Well, your investments, what you're in. It's really helpful to have this information ahead of time. We are going to be putting a Dropbox on my website directly so it's secure. We haven't done it yet, but that'll be happening in the future. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you could also book on my Calendly anytime, whether it's in person or Zoom. I always prefer in person because getting to know somebody, it's really helpful. But I asked for this information because I'm going to run a report. And when I run this report, it tells me the good and the bad. And then we can go from that point in time. And that's the purpose behind it. Now, if you are so private that you want to block your account information, I don't care. That's not what I need. Mm-hmm. I need to know how you're invested. And we go from there.
It's a meeting that we all really need to have, and that is, how's my retirement going to work? Picking that person who's going to help you along this journey is important, and that's really why we have this show. Give Mark a call, give Mark a look on the website, and introduce yourself. moretoretire.com, moretoretire.com, or 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984. New study says that most Americans planning for retirement are planning for a short retirement, figuring it's going to last about 20 years. So if you retired at 62, that puts you at 82. And there's a lot of people that live a lot longer than that. So that might be coming up quite a bit short. Mark, do you find that people, when you sit down and say, well, we're going to figure this out to 95, and they go, oh, come on, I'm not going to live that long. What's that look like? What's the reaction to how long you're going to live?
Folks say that all the time. And then I have occasionally some people say, oh, you know what? My wife, her mother, lived to 97 years old. So, longevity's in the family. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future holds. But I like to plan out as long as possible because it gives us protective barriers. It gives us some sense of taking ownership in the idea that maybe we're going to need a little extra help. Because if I just plan to 82 or 85 years old as a whole, now I build in some things that say certain guarantees to age 85, but then we build in other barriers and other areas because we want to make sure that money's not going to go dry on you, that you're going to have something there. And you might say, oh, I really want to do this. Well, you know what? We can make provisions for leaving money to a church, or to your kids, or to some nieces and nephews, or to something near and dear to your heart. One of the things that I like to talk about is how important it is to look at your situation and make sure you make provisions for this. Because for me, I want to make plans all the way to 100 just in case.
Well, we have to ask the what if questions, I'm not going to live to 95. What if you do? I don't see another recession coming. What if it does? We have to kind of put that into the plan and say, do the what if scenarios, because boy, if you've got the what if taken care of, I could feel probably pretty good walking away from that meeting saying, I'm kind of covered here. I figured out if inflation goes up, I'm okay. I figured out if the market goes down, I'm okay. And these are the kind of things that I think make you feel better about going into this big journey we call retirement. Let's sit down and have that conversation and talk about the what ifs. Here's our number. Here's our website, 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. And we'll sit down and talk through all of your questions about retirement. Moretorretire.com is our website. 72% of current people in retirement in this particular survey said they wished they had opened up a Roth IRA earlier in their careers. The thing that they see that they needed now that they're in retirement, the tax-free growth and the tax-free withdrawals. Now, we can probably learn a lesson from that because that is an IRA to Roth conversion. We talk about this all the time, putting your 401k or your IRA money to work. So, Mark, why is this a big topic of conversation right now? Obviously, retirees, they get there and they go, gee, I wish I had done that. So let's do that. Let's talk through it and talk through the details of it, who's a good candidate for this, and how does it help you in retirement?
Well, it's always a good candidate for people that don't mind paying the taxes. Okay? There's a mental block right there. Some people are just like, I don't even want to go there. Look, I'm here for you. If you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. I don't force anybody to have the conversation. I want to know what's on your mind. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? And some people tell me, yeah, they want to do it, and then they really don't take action. And some folks tell me, I'm intrigued, and then I show them different ways to do it, and then they don't do it either. And then there's a fraction of folks that say, you know what, I want to do some, or I want to do it all. Let's build a plan of how to do it. I'm not a CPA. But if you show me what your AGI is, I can show you different levels of taxes, and you can see that directly on the internet. Mm-hmm. It's just common sense. Mm-hmm. And we can involve your accountant or your CPA and talk to them about this and build that into the plan. These are the things that we can do. Or if you don't have one, again, we have the attorneys right down the road. We have a guy that's a CPA on staff. The bottom line is, we're here to help you. And the conversion questions and then the conversion process, it's not complicated. Every product we use, we can do conversions within. Every market money piece or puzzle that we have, we can do those conversions as well. And as a matter of fact, on our custodial platform, the custodian we have is Fidelity Investments. So, this is not rocket science. We can build this for you and do these things for you, but it could be substantial. If you do conversions now, let's just say you're in your early 60s and you want to do conversions before required minimum distribution age, if you live into your late 80s, it is a massive difference for you and maybe who you leave it to as a legacy, just depending on how you want to accomplish this. Or maybe you want to build it for eventually tax-free income in the future in retirement. That sure would help with inflation. I can tell you that.
So the idea here is to get some of that money out of the tax wash, because all that money you put in that 401k and that IRA is going to be taxed when you pull it out. Do you think taxes will go up in the future? I would think if you were to ask that question over at Ray's at your seminar, pretty much every hand would go up, wouldn't it, Mark?
That's one of the questions I ask.
Okay.
We ask about it, and that the answer is C, higher. Yeah. I mean, how could it not be based on the debt, the massive debt we're in and what we're trying to accomplish? We need to see this current administration bite into it. Mm-hmm. And I think they want to. I hear the intention of it. I see what they're trying to accomplish with the controversial Doge. Mm-hmm. But again, what I want to see is it actually occur.
So when we talk about this idea of converting money, some of the benefits, I mean, tell me if I'm being too simplistic with this, because I think it has a benefit for you, and then it has a benefit for your heirs if you want to send money down. But if you wanted to buy a car and you're 73 years old and you're having to start to take RMDs, you have to take money out of your 401k. At a current tax bracket, maybe you have to take $40,000 out, but you got to get 52 to get that 40 because you got to pay the taxes. If taxes go up in the future, maybe you have to pay 55 to get your 40. And that's kind of in a position you don't want to be. So if you could take 40 and get 40, that's really kind of where you want to be, isn't it?
Ideal, Randy. Yeah. Yes. I mean, if we could just make that little bit of difference, if you really want to see this and see what it looks like and the difference, we could run the numbers. We've got software as well. I mean, this is not, like I said, this is not complicated stuff. This is just some calculations. There is no way we can predict the correct level of future inflation. After June of 2022, when we had that all-time high of 9.1%, I mean, that's significant,
Yeah.
Randy. So when we talk about taxes, yeah, and we could do these conversions to make that just a little bit of difference in your life. So, Randy, if we get to age 73 or 75, depending on your current age, and you have to take required minimum distributions, government says you can still do conversions. You just have to take your required minimum distribution first. And if you do that, then you can do a conversion in that year.
Gotcha. Now, one thing that's happening right now as the market is kind of wonky back and forth is if people want to get ahead, if they're kind of day trader kind of people and wheelers and dealers along those lines, and we as people saving for retirement really probably don't fall into that category, but people do what is called buy the dip. So the market goes down and then they push some money in, and then when the market goes back up again, they make money. That makes total sense. People are now saying that a Roth conversion right now is kind of like buying the dip. So they're implying that when the market is down, this is a good time to talk about a conversion. Why is that? What does that mean?
Let's just say, for example, the market has dropped, 10%, right? We're looking at this and we're thinking, oh, I see opportunity to buy back in. Well, what about converting some? Because now, you only have 90% of what you had there, and now you have less of a taxable situation as well.
Okay.
So obviously reaching the next tax bracket, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, makes sense. But there's also another couple ways we can go about this. We can also do life insurance too. Let's say you don't mind conversion, and you have this certain period of time that you could do it for. So let's say you're 58 years old, and you realize, you know what, I want to take income from this asset in 10 years at 68 years old. So let me just take some of this IRA money and let's convert it. There is a law under 72T in the Internal Revenue Code that says if you take equal distributions, that you can have a certain amount of taxes withheld. I'm not getting into the logistics of it, but that can be done. But at 59.5, it can be without that 72T as well. But let's just say you want to do that. You want to take it from IRA money, you do that, but you do it for 10 straight years, based on that. And as you do that 10 years, you make those conversions and you make that premium into life insurance. I call it a Roth IRA on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Why? We can go below this thing called a modified endowment contract limit inside the contract, and then we can take tax-free withdrawals up to the premiums and then tax-free loans, and that's fully in the Internal Revenue Code as long as we follow what it says. And look, it just has to be to a T. So we want to make sure we do it the proper way. It is totally one of the things you can build in your retirement portfolio, especially for tax-free income. And then on top of it, there's a death benefit involved. Now, we'll reduce the death benefit when you get to the point of taking income. But if you're taking income in retirement, you pass away, more than likely, if we built it right, you're going to leave on some type of legacy as well, some type of life insurance.
It's funny how if you ask anybody on the street, most of us have lived our lives in something other than financial services. And, what do you know about the stock market? Buy low, sell high. Okay, I know that one. And then, what's involved in the stock market? Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. See, the answers that we have to these questions are so simplistic. And then when we say, what are you going to do for income in retirement? Well, I've got my 401k and Social Security. Again, same kind of thing. We have this kind of a narrow-minded thing that we see just that. And there are so many other places to explore when it comes to risk management, and it comes to income generation, and it comes to tax strategies. There's a lot of places to look and things you might not be aware of. And these are the kind of things that you can sit down and talk to Mark about. Give us a call. Let's talk about your retirement and giving you more. MoreToRetire.com is our website. Again, MoreToRetire.com, or give us a look. It's 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. All right. You remember the name Ozzie Newsome? I remember Ozzie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great player for the Cleveland Browns for a lot of years. And after he finished his playing career, he went into a front office career with the Baltimore Ravens. And here is Ozzie.
I played for 13 years. And at that point, I was ready to retire. And I retired from being a player and started to work in player personnel as well as coaching. And I've been doing that since 91 was my first year. Yeah, I will have a player pension, and then I will have a pension for working as an executive in the National Football League. When I officially hang up the cleats or put down the pencil, you'll find me on somebody's golf course.
I thought it was so interesting. Here's a guy who probably made millions of dollars as a pro football player, but what's he excited about? He's excited about 2 paychecks in retirement. I thought that was really significant. So, I mean, you probably sit down with people of all different levels of wealth, but they're kind of after the same thing, aren't they, Mark? They're after the paycheck in retirement.
Always. Yeah. You're talking about income. Cash is king. When they know that income's coming in, they just feel so good, and we talk about a lot of stuff. Just sitting at this table, folks tell me they already have a pension, or they're coming up on a pension, or they have pension decisions. Do I take this lump sum pension, or am I going to get this payout like Ozzie Newsome's getting, right? So we talk about this stuff to make sure that we're on the same page. Sometimes people just want to do a lump sum rollover and grow the money and maybe take some withdrawals from that because they don't need all that income. There's a lot of things that come up, but I'll tell you, like I've said before, income. Yeah. People love it. Same thing though. Taxes. Let's take that into account too.
So I got to believe that as you sit down in these meetings, and maybe there's some wives that are dragging their husbands in there, kicking and screaming, he doesn't want to do this. Or there's people that kind of come in with their arms folded and their body language is kind of like, okay, what are you going to do for me, mister? And are you going to make me have a good retirement? Or there's people that come in worried and they're just, did I do enough? All sorts of different emotions as they go in. But when the tide turns, what is the moment that the tide turns when people go, okay, I think we can do this? Is it the moment when you figure out the income and you say, we can replace that paycheck or come close to replacing the paycheck, or here's what your income is in retirement? Is that the key moment when things change?
Yeah, it's one of my closing things that I do at my presentation. It's the Randy Macho Man Savage moment because you're digging it. And you want me to do impression right now?
I yes.
All right. I have to put the finger up.
Okay.
Pinky has to go up.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Dig it. It's pretty good, right?
Not bad.
That's the moment. Because they're like, you know what? This guy might know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I like that. It gets me excited because I know I can prove that I know how to do this job. This is exciting for me. I like this stuff. I get excited to see every particular situation, every moment in time with folks. You get to learn about folks. You get to talk to folks, and you learn so much about each other that you become almost like family. And then you pray for each other because there's a lot of stuff that you're impacted by in this life. What I can say is it's okay to have a guard up. I don't mind it. I just want to help. And if you really want my help, I can show you areas that I can help you in. So yeah, it's just, let's get that back to that Randy Macho Man Savage.
I'm digging this income. I like it. There's so many different, you get a retiree who's got the trucker hat on and says, I'm on a fixed income. You got that guy, right? And then you've got people, I've talked to, I'm making more in retirement than I did when I was working. And it's like a big surprise. And, we're doing great. And it's so interesting, the variance of people that are in retirement and how they feel about their money. But if that income plan is there, and they know that the money's coming in every 2 weeks or every month, just like it did while they were working, gosh, I gotta believe that's one of those moments there that makes you feel more confident as you go into this next 20, 25 years.
Oh yeah, and when we talk about somebody that has like $1 million, and if they weren't withdrawing from it over the last couple of years, it looks like they might have, if they're correlated to the S&P 500, we're looking at maybe a 1.5 million. And that's a significant difference. Now the question is, do you want to preserve it? Have you hit that stage in life? Because we can take income from whatever you need. If you have a guaranteed pension, it's guaranteed up to the provider. And then you have a Pension Guarantee Act, of course, too. But that's only up to a certain amount. So let's have these real conversations. Where do you need help? Because we don't want to rely on Social Security. That's another thing, Randy. We just don't want to do that. We can have it as a part of the portfolio, but until they show us they can protect it and salvage it, I don't want that to be something that you can particularly rely on.
Yep. Social Security and what else? Let's find out what the what else is for you in your retirement. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website. Moretoretire.com is our website. Moretoretire.com. Bottom of the page there's a place where you can put a little information in there. There's even a box that said, this is what I'd really like to talk about. That's really good and very helpful for us. But let's get a date on a calendar and just talk through some of the math of your retirement and find out what's going on. You've saved. You've done a great job. And now you need to know what it's going to mean for you in your retirement years. That's really more knowledge and more power. Give us a call as well, 984-300-1984. Well, I'm a golfer, so anytime I find a golf story, I'm going to bring it to the show. That's just if I'm your co-host, that's what you're going to have to deal with, Mark. But Jerry Seinfeld did a bit not too long ago about golf, and he just doesn't understand what the appeal is.
A game so nonsensically difficult, so pointless, so irrationally time-consuming, the word golf itself could only stand for get out, leave family. All golfers say the same thing to you. It's a very challenging game. I'm sure it is. It's challenging trying to throw a tic-tac 100 yards into a shoebox. That's not a reason to devote thousands of hours to a game that even at its highest skill level is basically whack. Where is it? Oh, damn it.
And he's right on the money there. That is so true. So there's a lot of metaphors in golf. I mean, you can stand on the tee box and you look and there's all these hazards out there. There's woods on the right. There's water on the left. There's a bunker by the green, and you got to avoid the hazards. And one of the things about golf is trying to avoid the big number, having that one bad hole. In golf, we call it the blow-up hole, the snowman, getting an 8 or worse on your scorecard. And I think, Mark, we talk to people about coming in and let's look at your retirement. There are people that have made mistakes. I have made big financial mistakes in my life. I've got in credit card trouble. I've had to bail myself out from my 401k. I admit it. I've done it. Okay. There might be people listening to us right now that have made some mistakes like that and go, I don't want to talk about this because that's going to come up. Address that a little bit about going through the past and going into the future.
Sure. This is something that folks, maybe they don't want to share, and I get that, but I've been there. I know what it feels like. So if you want to get out of this situation, we can look at this. Mm-hmm. We can help you in this area. And like I said, if it's so deep and dire, I've got a financial coach that I know that can help you in this area as well. So again, for me, Randy, I want to meet with everyone that has some kind of assets in their portfolio that I can help them with. Otherwise, I can put them over to the financial coach. But let's talk about where you're at now, where you're at in the past, where you're going in the future. We need to know all of these things because we need to know your needs now and your needs in the future. Then we want to talk about your desires, your wants, the things you want to do in life, because you might want to travel your 50s, 60s, and 70s, but probably not in your 80s. So we want to make a budget for all of these things in all of these areas. And if we need to help pay off debt with assets, we can do that too. I mean, we just talked about that a minute ago with one of my clients. Not a problem. But I do believe in leverage. I think leverage can be a good thing, especially in real estate. It just depends on what you're trying to do. And the question is, are you making more money on one side versus paying on the other? That's called arbitrage. Are you making more than the difference? And that's another discussion to have too. So all of these things come up, and I'd like to discuss every one of them with you because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help.
There is such a thing as good debt and bad debt. I mean, you might not want to dip into your 401k and pay off your mortgage because that's going to make you feel good, but you might want to get in there and pay off your credit cards because they're at maybe 20% and your house is not. So, I mean, those kind of decisions and figuring out how can I get myself in the best possible place for retirement, that's really what happens in this 2 or 3 years before, isn't it?
It is. And that's what we discuss. Like, what debt are we going to pay off? What debt are we not going to pay off? What's better debt than others? Mm-hmm. I mean, all debt is not really, I would say, good, but you either have better debt than others. And that's what we discuss and we go over because this is going to all fit into the equation. we have to retire on something, right, Randy? We have to have income. It's good to have some assets too. We talk about long-term care planning. Look, I'm licensed for long-term care. I can sell traditional long-term care insurance if I want to. But if a person wants an alternative, there are long-term care annuities out there, and there are living needs-based annuities out there. I'm no respecter, but I'm here to help a person on every given level. Taxes is a big part of this, but so is long-term care planning too, because we didn't discuss that.
We want to make sure that we are addressing all the different headwinds, we call them, and the things that will pull at your money when it comes to your retirement. Where is your money going? Who's going to be grabbing at it? It's Uncle Sam for sure. It could be that market. How do we have a strategy for that? There's a lot of different places pulling at your money. Let's figure out how we can put more of it in your pocket and not somebody else's. Give us a call. Give us a look. MoreToRetire.com. That's our website, MoreToRetire.com. Go to the bottom of the page there. There's actually a box there that says, what are you concerned about? What is it that you really want to have answered? Put something in there. Put your name and address and things in there so that we can reach out to you and get this conversation started. You can also call us at 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984. As I look around, I find it interesting many times to go into these advice columns and people are asking questions, and I just like to throw these same questions out here. Somebody wrote into the Money Wise advice column, says, I'm 60 years old. I'm prepping for retirement. I saved $1.2 million. And I want to live completely off dividend income. So dividend paying stocks. So is that possible? This person says. So I know that's one of the places that you can draw income from. Is it possible on 1.2 million to have dividend paying stocks and it pay the whole monthly nut? Is that possible?
I mean, it's possible. Is it rational?
Okay.
Truly, it depends on your risk tolerance, I guess. Right. If you ask me, would I advise that? No, okay. I would not advise that. I don't think it's wise, but it's possible to happen. I mean, I know people have lived off bonds for years too, and some even lived off of junk bonds. And that's anything lower than triple B. But again, when we talk about just taking income, I get concerned when folks come to me and they want to do it from non-guaranteed positions. That worries me. I would like to use preservation tools. So if we can preserve these things and we can give you more safety measures in retirement, especially for income purposes, it'll make me feel better. If it makes me feel better, I think it'll eventually make you feel better too.
Well, if somebody is asking you, can I get all of my retirement income in one place? Isn't that kind of throwing all your eggs in one basket? Because dividend paying stocks, they're still stocks, and dividends can go down, and stock markets can go down, and stocks can go down. And to spread your income out in a couple of different places, Social Security, annuities, dividend paying stocks, bonds, all these different things, seems like kind of a better plan to me.
I mean, Randy, you know what a dividend is, right? So when a stock pays a dividend, what happens to the stock price?
Usually stocks go up, and that's when they pay a better dividend. Am I correct there?
Yes. So if the stock's going up in value, you could be getting a better dividend, right? But if you're getting paid a dividend, immediately, as soon as you get paid that dividend, what happens? The stock drops by the amount the dividend's paid.
Okay. Question
is it going to go right back up? Well, I can't answer that question for you. What I can say is, does the price of the stock matter to you? That's a really important question. But for me, I just can't do that. And Randy, you brought up an incredible point. How could you have all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? No, I think it's a little bit foolish. And I really would like to just have a conversation and talk to you about, what is your plan? I had a gentleman I talked to, age 53, and he had some serious concerns because he's disabled. He has this pension that runs out at age 65 for disability. He was getting paid by the company for disability at age 65. It's going to be gone, but he's on Social Security disability. But he wants to make provisions, and I know he has this brokerage account. When I studied it, when I did a Morningstar report on it, I had some real concerns, Randy. I mean, this I'm sighing for a reason. Because he needs to make some income provisions for his future. And the standard deviation, the percentage was quite high. That tells me alone. And then when you see the correlation and things seem to be highly correlated, which means they're going to move in the same direction. If we have a correction in the market, we better make these plans now as opposed to later. Give me those 12 years and we can make these provisions. So I come across a lot of stuff like this. I come across a person that has all their money in the market, living month to month, no real plan in place. And that's just because it comes from an advisor that believes that this is what should be done. And that just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
The L word, liquidity, is important too. I believe you have to have a certain amount of liquidity. So obviously, we're not going to put all your money into annuities because that's very illiquid. Let's make some income planning provisions. Let's make some provisions for preservation tools. Have you made long-term care provisions? And then what do we want to use for market money? And do we want to derive income from that, or do we just want to play around with it? There's a lot of stuff that we can do here. And the levels of planning too, Randy. So yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I read about it. I hear about it. I see it. I think it's human nature. And people are behind in many cases in their retirement saving. I get it. We read that all the time. And the human nature in it is I need to really score big in the last 2 or 3 years before I retire. So I'm going to push all into the market, and they're going to take a lot of risk, which is kind of exactly opposite of what you should try to do, isn't it?
100%. You should be getting into a preservation state of mind before retirement. We should be making these plans ahead of time, because if you really know, hey, I'm going to retire in 5 or 10 years or in 2 or 3 years, we need to have this conversation, because building for income, building for a nest egg, building for these other provisions I mentioned, and then also all the planning tools, on your tool belt. Let's just go to town and to task and just make sure that we've got this in place. And the more time you give me, the better. Okay. It's really important. Go to moretoretire.com, fill that stuff out. Randy will give you the phone number as well of where to call to get in touch with me. We'll set an appointment. We'll talk about this stuff. There's no cost for it. I'm not going to charge you for coming to meet with me. I don't like to do that. Okay. I make my money from money management from a fee base. There's no commission on that side, that comes from the fiduciary standard of care. But then on the commission-based side, you have annuities, life insurance, long-term care. You also have long-term care types of annuities or living needs annuities. All these things can be built in, and those are commission-based. They don't come out of your pocket. They come out of the insurance company's pocket to pay me commission. So these are the ways I make money. Don't worry about setting an appointment with me and paying me. That's not going to happen.
Well, one of the things that you should have with every financial advisor is transparency, and Mark just kind of gave it to you right there. Sitting down and knowing that should be one of your questions. How do you get paid? And what is this costing me? You should ask that question, and you should get a direct answer like Mark just gave you. Give us a call. Let's sit down and talk through your retirement concerns. Here's our number, and here's our website. It's 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984, or our website, moretoretire.com. All right, so here's the big financial question of the day, Mark. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How many keys do you have on your ring?
I have a lot.
Do you have a lot? Okay.
I do.
I have a few I know, a few I don't know. And according to this particular survey, most of us have about 9 keys on our ring. And at least 3 of them, we have no idea what they're for. I mean, I don't have a car that has a push button. I still have a car that I have a key for my car. I got a house key, and I got a desk key. And then after that, I have no idea what they are. So that is also a problem in financial services. And that is people walk in your door and you do your analysis for them and give them a good idea of what they've got. And then the next question is, why do you have this? And it's almost like your keys on the ring. I know why I have that one. I know why I have that one. But these 3 over here, somebody told me I should be in there, and I have no idea why I'm in there. Is this something that happens regularly, Mark?
It does. And some people are willing to make a difference and change, and some are not. And the question, Randy, is, are you open? When you come into my office and you give me this information, we're going to go through a lot. And it's really important. That's why, like, if you have brokerage positions and stuff like that, I usually ask for those ahead of time, simply because it helps me develop a report that gives us a really good conversation, even where we start. So we talk about how do we get to the point where we can answer these questions for you, because you wonder, why do I have this or why do I have that? Are you open? Please, let's love each other and make sure we value each other's time, because we don't get that back. So for me, I want to be transparent. I want to be upfront, and I want to try and help you as much as possible. Just be open. I'm not asking you to give me a yes. We can always change and develop a plan over time, but a lot of people have positions they don't understand or why they have them.
So one of the things that I want to get to here as we kind of bring the show to a close, and that is when you sit down with somebody like you, Mark, a financial advisor, and the expectation might be that he's just going to rip and tear, and he's just going to napalm everything I've got, and we're going to have to start all over again. That is not necessarily the case, is it?
No, it's not. And a lot of times, especially if it's just the market positions, we're really looking for a few different spots. We're looking for what your standard deviation is, because it tells you your level of risk, or it might just tell us a story of what your level of risk should be. We look at correlation, and then we look at something called a scatter plot, because it tells us low risk, low reward versus high risk, high reward. And these are the conversations we have. And then a lot of times folks don't realize that, the ETFs you might have, the mutual funds you have, they're all allocated percentage-wise to certain stocks. So the report breaks down how that works, and it shows you. It really gives you that information. And then you might have some annuities that you're just kind of mad because you bought them in 2019 and 2020, and the rates were just so bad. Well, yeah, the rates were bad back then. The rates are much better now. They're historic, and we have historic bonuses where we can bonus you out of those positions and put you into better potential products. Okay, there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, we can even use fixed index annuities as a Springer platform to do things like guaranteed lifetime income riders. So for me, Randy, when we talk about, in general, am I going to tear your stuff up? No. But if you're open to suggestions, we might be able to build something together.
We should look at everything through these different lenses. How much is it costing you? If you look at two things that are doing the identical things, the ETF and the mutual fund, which one costs you more? We should look at it through the tax lens, look at it through the income lens. And that is kind of what you're going to get when you sit down with Mark and go through the process here. We have 5 steps on your website. Mark, they can go to moretoretire.com. The first one is the treetop view. That's really a conversation, isn't it?
It really is. Whether you bring your statement to me there or whether you give it to me ahead of time, we still start out at that treetop view. It's a conversation. We're having a conversation. We haven't gone any further than conversation. Obviously, when I want someone to come in next a second time, they've got to be prepared. So under these 5 steps, and you just read through them, we're going to go through all of that stuff with you. So we start with the treetop view. It's very harmless. After we move on, we get a little bit more serious about what types of solutions we might look at. And I'm analytical, so I want to find out. I am not going to be emotional. It's going to be very, very methodical. And we're going to talk about things about what matters to you. And then we're going to try and build those things in. And then I'm going to tell you what matters to me, making sure that you've made certain preservation tools. Okay. Have you done your estate planning? What do you want to save? What do you not want to save? What kind of income you want? What do taxes look like? How can we make things where like Roth IRAs and things like that, tax-free provisions, income tax-free provisions? So these are the conversations we have. And then eventually we get to the bottom line, which is if you're working with me, you're always going to get ongoing support.
Well, we would love to have the conversation with you, and why not take a step out and actually make an appointment? Let's do some math on your retirement and find out where you are right now. And if there's some gaps in there, not enough income, too much taxes, too many fees, let's identify them, and maybe we can sit down and build a plan for it. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website, 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984, or moretoretire.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you'll find a place where you can put some information there, and Mark will reach out to you. We thank you so much for listening today, and we'll see you here again next week on the Mark Osler Retirement Experience.
Thanks for listening to the Mark Osler Retirement Experience. To schedule a meeting about your retirement and the financial pathway to more, go to moretoretire.com. That's moretoretire.com.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Mark Osler Retirement Experience. Mark Osler Retirement Experience is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC, registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Mark Osler Retirement Experience are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Mark Osler Retirement Experience is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute legal or tax advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein are provided by third parties that have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mark Osler Retirement Experience. Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations for a wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.